Hello, my name is Roman Djindjihashvili. For years already, I'm promoting some openings that for weaker to medium to even for strong players that gives white some positional advantage. So we are shooting not for immediate crush in the opening, but for the openings that are based on very solid and healthy strategical plans. So I had multiple requests on explaining some positions in the end of the opening that we frequently say, okay, and here we're going to end because white has good size advantage. But the requests I get is to explain how to play those positions. Those positions don't win by themselves. If you had winning attack on opponent's king, that's a lot easier because winning attack, you know what you have to do. You have to go and try to checkmate opponent's king. And this is a lot more straightforward than playing with certain positional advantage. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to try to explain some positions that we get from after our opening is finished, and then we get to the middle game, how to play those positions. This is going to be extremely helpful for you to study, even for those who don't play these openings, because it's not about the opening. It's about the strategy of blockaded position. Once you blockade and once you determine weakness for opponent's pawn structure, how do you take advantage of it? You will see dynamic and static aspects of the strategy, and basically I will do my best to make sure that you will be very, very successful once you reached those positions. So first, I want to talk and analyze some blockaded position from our repertoire in Scotch Gambit or two knight defense, knight f6, e5. We are not going to be discussing here opening part. We're going to be discussing positions after the opening. Castle, bishop c5, knight g5, f4, knight e4, and bishop e3. Now, this is probably the main position of whole opening and most important position. And here we have to know exactly what we are going to play, how we're going to play it. I have to point, before I make these moves, I have to point that, well, after f4, knight e6 will result with c3, and white gets different type of advantage. There will be no blockade, but there will be very strong attack on the king side. But that's not what we want to discuss now. If you want to look at it, you should pick up a copy of my DVD on the opening. So we are discussing position with knight e4, bishop e3, castle, knight d2, knight takes d2, queen takes d2, queen e7, knight b3. That's the beginning of blockade. If black takes, this is going to be a terrible position for black. Now, let me explain why. You see, black can never play c5, never play d4. There is a weakness on a7, so which means black's rook is not free to move. And after knight will come to c5, white will have potential of playing f5. This is probably the worst kind of blockade for black. So it's the best position white can get. This position I should evaluate as completely lost for black. Now, question. You may ask legitimate question. Do we exchange queens here or not? This position is so bad for black. For example, rook f2 e8. That queen c5 is a very powerful maneuver because if queens exchanged, white king will be heading to d4. How do you play this position after exchanging the queens? Well, bishop is hanging, bishop f5. First of all, you must give this position static character. So which is, we go c3, on the rook to b8, we go b4, and if black plays a5, we go a3. Now we have static position that is terrible for black because king simply will head to d4. Let's see what else can black do here. Actually, they cannot do much. On f6, you have a luxury of playing rook f2 e1, which is probably the best choice, or even taking on f6, which gives black a little life after fe. But even then, after rook to f2 e1, position is almost lost. Because eventually rook's going to get exchanged. There is open file. King is going to head to d4. And